And start to take deep, full breaths in and complete breaths out, letting every drop go. Again, slow and deep into the heart of your day as you breathe in fully. And as you exhale completely, letting every drop go. And as your body continues to grow heavier into the floor, begin to fill your lungs up with infinite space. From the belly, rib cage, all the way into the upper body. Every exhale, releasing and letting go. A couple more just like that. And one more time, big full breath in. And exhaling completely. And then if you would please go ahead and bring one hand to the belly, one hand to your heart. You can bring the soles of the feet to touch, letting the knees opening up, going right into a little more of a hip opener. And then start to breathe into your hand. So feeling the rise and fall of your belly, feeling the rise and fall of your upper chest. And though your body is heavy into the earth and rooting down, your breath is keeping you light and buoyant. It's this perfect balance of being really relaxed and alert at the same time. And here I offer you set your intention for practice this morning. How do you want to feel and be as we transition into this time of extreme self-care? As we let everything around us be exactly as it is. There is no need to change anything about this moment. Instead, we breathe space. We provide more room for everything to be as it is. And then if you would please slowly start to awaken your body in any way that feels good. Maybe reaching those arms overhead, perhaps drawing the legs in. And then let's all go ahead and extend the legs forward, reach those arms back, take a really big breath. On your exhale, bring the right knee into your chest, give it a good squeeze into your belly. And you'll just continue to switch sides. Inhale, arms reach back, legs forward. Exhale to squeeze the other leg into your chest. And just continue with your breath. So we're just starting to awaken hips, shoulders. So your movement will depend on the length of your breath. When I offer you receive more oxygen by breathing in slowly, by exhaling completely. Say a couple more on each side. And then eventually bringing the leg in towards your chest. Doesn't matter which side you start with. As the leg comes in, you just hold and squeeze. Feeling a little more stretch in your glute. And then from here, we move into a twist, extending your arm as you slowly draw the knee across the chest over to the opposite side of your mat. Now, once you get there, do a little adjustment so you feel your shoulder blades into the floor a little bit more. You can take your gaze over your fingertips. And then taking your gaze back up, we'll slowly draw the legs up through the center. Place the feet to the floor, do that adjustment in the hips and spine. And then we'll draw the legs back into the chest, give that good squeeze. And then both legs will go up to the ceiling. Holding there, pointing and flexing your feet, or pointing the toes rather. And then drawing the toes towards your face as you press through the heel. And then eventually we bring the legs back into the chest, and the knees squeezing in. And then switching sides, opposite leg straightens out to the top of your mat as you bring your knee into the chest. And then here's our twist, second side. You slowly draw the knee across. As you take your gaze past the fingertips and just feel the sensations and just notice where you're feeling the opening, where you're feeling any constriction. And then just continue to breathe even more space throughout your body. And one more full breath in and one more breath out. You'll come back through the center. Bending those knees again, adjust the hips and spine. We'll take the legs up to the ceiling, this time letting the legs open up into a V shape. So hands can be on the outside of the thighs or the inner thighs for a little bit more. And then press through the heels here. Curl those toes again towards your face. Keep your jaw relaxed, your shoulders soft. Then eventually just bending into your knees as you grab a hold of your feet or grab behind your thighs for happy baby. You can rock a little side to side. Now, if you feel your hips lifting up off the floor a whole lot, start to press the low back into the floor. Start to feel a little bit more massage in the sacrum and the low back. And then start to feel a little stillness here as you feel the heaviness in the knees towards the earth. And one more breath. And breath out. And go ahead and gently release. As you draw the legs together, lower the feet to the floor. You're just going to roll to one side of your mat where you can see your screen. And we're just going to do a quad stretch. So you can prop your head up with your hand or just lie down on your shoulder. Knees are bent, and go ahead and just grab a hold of that top leg, maybe your pant leg or your ankle, and then start to pull that heel in towards your glute. So starting out with just a lovely quad stretch, keeping the knee somewhat in alignment with your hip to begin. And then for a little more, you can start to take the knee back a bit. So you're opening up a little bit more from your hip and the knee. Now, if that's too much or it's a challenge to grab a hold of your ankle, you can just let that leg slide back without holding on to it. And at that point, you might want to drop down to your shoulder. We'll just be here for a few more breaths. And then we'll go ahead and just release that. As you bring the knee back in towards your chest, you're just opening up the knee a little bit wider. You can start by grabbing behind your leg and then straightening out the leg to the ceiling. So if that feels okay and you're balanced here, you can take your peace fingers, maybe grab a hold of your big toes. So maybe even bending that elbow a little bit more, opening up the leg. Here we're just feeling slightly deeper stretch in the back of the legs. Take one more big breath here. And breath out. And go ahead and slowly start to lower that leg down. We'll bring the knees on top of each other. Draw the knees up a little bit more. And then lower down onto your back body and just open up your chest right into a twist. You can press down on top of your leg for a little bit more. You can even straighten out your legs here. So we already started out with the twist earlier. Now it's a slightly different variation. And then you'll start to bend the knees back in if they're not already there, and we'll slowly rise back up to the center. Do a slight adjustment in your hips and spine. And before going to our second side, we'll stay here, moving into a few rounds of rolling bridge. Heels are close into your glutes, arms are at your side. Maybe see if you can even graze the heels with your fingertips. We press down into the floor, start to lift your hips, your low back, mid-spine, and upper spine. Really pressing into your feet. Feel your chest lift up towards your chin. Exhale, start to lower upper spine, mid-spine, low back, and then your hips. Continue on a few more rounds through. Really feeling the feet press into the floor, feeling the knees drawing down as you lift up, up, up. Exhale to lower one vertebrae at a time. And take one more round. Big breath in. Strengthening your back body. Exhale to lower. Then hugging the knees back into your chest. Cup your knees with the hands and just do a few circles with the knees. So you can open up the legs and bring them back together. You can zipper the knees together. And then go the opposite direction. And then you'll draw those legs together and roll to the other side of your mat. So you know where we're going. We're just going into those two postures. It's okay if you don't see the screen. You can prop your head up with your hand or just lie down on your shoulder. We'll start out with that quad stretch. Soft bend in the knees. Just grab a hold of your top leg, your ankle or pant leg. Now remember, if that's a challenge to hold on to, you can just start to scooch that top knee back a little bit, and that should give you a similar feel and stretch. And starting out with that knee alignment with your hip to begin. So when we stretch this way, you guys, we're really just stretching in that knee joint, and that gives us a lovely stretch for the quad. And then when we start to take the knee back a little bit more, you start to feel a little bit more sensation in the front of your pelvis. Couple more breaths here. And then we can slowly release that. As you draw the knee in towards your chest, the knee is lifting up towards the ceiling. Grab behind the thigh and then straightening out the leg to the ceiling. So at that point, you can grab a hold of your big toe or towards your foot. And then again, for a little more, you can start to bend your elbow, drawing that leg in towards your chest more. Couple more breaths here. And then gently release. Go ahead and slowly lower the knees together. And again, you're going to bring in a little more alignment with your hip. Drop on down to your back body and then just peel the chest open to the ceiling for a twist. You can press down on your thigh for more. You can straighten out your legs here as well. And then go ahead and start to bend those knees. If they're not already there, bring the legs back up to the center. Lower the feet to the floor. Do that slight adjustment in the hips and spine. This time we go into bridge and we hold. So find your alignment first and then start to press into the floor. Start to lift your hips and then start to walk your shoulder blades in. Now you can just press into your upper arm bones or interlacing fingertips together underneath you. So again, we want to start to stretch that front body more. We want to strengthen the back body, helping to counter if we're sitting a lot throughout the day. A couple more breaths here. Making sure your knees don't splay open. Keep them anchored over the heel. And then we release the hands. We gently roll those shoulders back out and then gently lower down into the floor. Start to rock and roll lengthwise on your spine, eventually coming all the way up. And we'll hold for boat pose. So as you come up into your seat, you can start to lean back a little bit on your hands or hands behind your thigh. We start to lift one foot up, the other foot can lift, both arms can extend forward. Few soothing breaths here. Engaging core, take another breath. And breath out. Start to lower your feet to the floor. Just give yourself a hug. Maybe just rock a little bit side to side, feeling your sits bones. And then we're going to do that again. This time we're going to add a twist in. So again, you can have the hands behind you if you need that support. Start to lift back into boat. Chest lifting up. Make sure you don't dump into your low back. Engage your core. Take a breath here. Exhale, legs go one direction as you turn and rotate the opposite way into a twist. Back to the center. Exhale, arms reach the opposite way, knees the other direction. Come on back to the center. Keep going. Okay, let's do another 3. Another 2. And one more here. Back to the center. Hold. Big lift in the chest. Maybe arms reach up this time. Last 3, 2, and we release the legs on 1. Give yourself that nice hug again. And then we'll open up the knees. Soles of the feet will come together. And just start to butterfly those knees up and down. Start to loosen up the hip socket. Start to increase digestion. Take another breath here. And on the exhale, we can soften the legs. You can start to fold here. You can use your elbows to press into your knees more. You can start to squeeze the feet together a little bit more. And then just relax your head. And then gently roll back up. Go and just find a seat, like a cross-leg position, Sukhasana. Okay, if this is uncomfortable, use a pillow or something to sit on to prop your pelvis up. And then hands resting on those knees. Take the shoulders up to those ears and then squeeze them down and away. Again, inhale and exhale. Breath in and breath out. Last round, up to those ears, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale down and away. Reaching your right arm across the chest, grab a hold with the left. Take an inhale, and then on your exhale, go ahead and just tilt a little bit more to the left side. And do that with breath. Inhale brings you back up. Exhale to tilt. One more time. And breath out. Come on back up. Go ahead and just keep that right arm across the chest. See if you can grab a hold of your left shoulder and keep walking that hand back so you can get the shoulder blade even. And then take your left hand, reach that hand behind your back. Palm will face out, and then rotate and twist over to the left. And then take your gaze over your shoulder. Such a lovely stretch for the shoulders. You're also checking in with your cervical spine. You're checking in with your neck. And then come back around through the center, releasing those arms. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the ceiling. Join the palms together to the heart center. Exhale. And this time, hands come back to those knees. We tuck the chin. Taking the chin to the shoulder, neck rolls as we let the head dip back, opening the throat. And continue on. And then going the other direction. And then eventually chin is back to neutral. We sit tall in the spine again, reaching that left arm across the chest. Grab a hold with your right. Take a breath. And then exhale to tilt over to the right. You're going to do that a couple times with breath. One more time. There you go. Exhale. Coming back up to the center. Your left hand continues to reach behind you towards your shoulder blades. Take your right hand to your low back. Keep walking that hand over as far as you can go. Maybe grabbing a hold of your left thigh and then twist and gaze over to the right. And then we come back around as we release. Inhale to sweep those arms back up to the ceiling. Hands together to the heart center. As you take the hands behind you this time, fingertips facing forward or turned out slightly, start to open up the chest. Some of you lifting your hips up. One more big inhale. And exhale to lower those hips down, walking the hands forward into a fold. Tucking the chin, head softens. Hips are really heavy here, so if you feel your hips lifting up off the floor, keep grounding them back down. I'm going to offer all of you know these poses. You felt it in some class, some form of it. So there's not a lot you need to see. Just trust yourself. And then slowly coming back up. Placing the right hand beside you to the floor, we lift the left arm up to the ceiling, taking an inhale and then into a side bend over to the right on the exhale. Again, tendency here is for that hip to pop up on that left side, ground it back down, and then spin open a little bit. And the breath in lets you come back to center. We release the arm, exhale. Second side, breath in and breath out. Feeling the stretch in between your rib cage. Feeling the expanse in your lungs. And then we go ahead and gently rise up, breath in and breath out to release, okay? And then finally, let's just do a little rotation in the wrist. So go ahead and take the palms forward, palms are facing down. Tuck your thumb and then wrap with your fingers. And then we start to rotate the wrist around without moving your arms a whole lot. See if you can get this from the wrist and keep your palms and your fingertips turning down. And then going the other direction. Taking care of our joints are really important for rheumatoid arthritis, for, again, blockages in our joints. And of course, our joints keep us mobile and allow us to move through life with a little more ease. And then eventually coming back to the center, take your palms up this time, and then we'll just bend the elbows, tap the shoulders. Inhale to straighten out the arms, exhale to bend. Okay, so as you do this, let that breath lead you. This tones your arms and helps with the elbow joints. Keep going. Ten more. Five more. Last three. 2 and 1. Go ahead and gently release those arms. Ooh, a little bicycling of the shoulders, shaking out. And on the other way. We're going to find our way into all fours. So go ahead and swing the legs behind you. If you need padding for your knees, you can use a blanket or just pad up your mat. So as you find your way into all fours, we'll just continue with little wiggles here, hips. You can do more shoulder rolls. As always, you have child's pose, downward facing dog. You even have more wrist stretches. So you get a little exploration on your own. You've done some movements, some postures, so you can kind of see how and check in with your physical body. For me, I have the similar things like most of you, the hips and the shoulders tend to be where I hold quite a bit of just stuff. All right, you guys, and let's start to find our way back into all fours. Now, scoop in your belly, lengthen through your spine. So we always want to elongate our lifeline, which is the spine. Extending your right leg back behind you. Start to lift your heel up to hip height. Notice if your toe turns out, just dial that toe down towards the floor. Press through the heel. And then option to take that left hand and reach forward for spinal balance. Inhale. And then slowly lower and release. Exhale. Switching sides, extending the left leg back, heel can lift up, and turn your toe down, active through your leg. Right arm can reach forward, spinal balance. Core helps to support low back. One more breath. And then exhale to lower and release. Now go ahead and flow on your own. The inhale lets you extend. Any version, hands can even remain on the floor. The exhale to lower. All our balancing poses are a great way to strengthen the mind as well as to strengthen the body. We're working on focus, keeping your eyes settling onto one dot on the floor or on the wall. And then go ahead and take one more on each side. Reach, there you go. Exhale to lower. When you finish, taking child's pose or downward facing dog. Great, you guys. Good. If you're in down dog, you know to feel more length in the spine, right? So we just talked about that. Maybe a soft bend in the knees, especially if it's your first down dog of the day. Pressing into your hands, feeling the chest melt towards your thigh. Same with child's pose. If you're in child's pose, see if the forehead can start to melt towards the mat a little bit more. See if you can feel the hips ground. And then you can iron out the forehead, rocking head side to side. Down dog, you can walk your dog, pedaling out your feet, swaying those hips. A few more rounds there of whatever you are playing with. Even stillness is an option. And then we'll eventually meet back in all fours. As we shift the weight forward, scoot your knees back. We're in a kneeling plank. Breath in. Core is strong. Exhale to bend those elbows. Start to drop the chest and chin. Elbows are squeezing tight. Hips are slightly lifted here. And as you come down, slide forward. Uncurl your feet. Start to lift your chest for cobra. Press the pubic bone down into the floor. Tops of the feet press down. Exhale to lower into the floor. And again, breath in to lift up. Elbows squeezing in. Some of you may be pressing into your hands, lifting up a little bit more into King Cobra. Exhale to gently lower back down into the mat. Another round. Breath in. If you're doing upward facing dog, just the tops of the feet and the hands on the floor. Exhale, we lower back into the floor, hips drop, belly softens in. Hands come to your forehead for rest. And then we're going to lift up into Sphinx. So you're coming onto your forearms. Elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. Pressing into your hands. Feel the opening in the heart center. And then bending your right knee. You can turn your left forearm so it's parallel to the top of the mat and then reach back for that foot. Okay, drawing that heel in. At this point, you can start to press onto the top of the foot into your backside a little more. If that's too much to be lifted, you can just drop down to your forehead. So similar shape, you can see how we're stretching again in that hip and the knee joint. And then slowly release that. Come on back into Sphinx. Hold. Gaze over your right shoulder, stretching out the neck. And then back to the center as you take your gaze to the left. And then come back to the center. And then bending your left knee. You can turn your right forearm. It's parallel to the top of the mat. That might help you balance here a little bit easier. And then drawing that heel in towards your glute. And then the exhale, release. Come on back through the center. This time go and just drop down to your forehead again. Bend your knees, windshield the legs to the left and to the right. Lowering those legs down. You're gonna go ahead and just slide your left knee. Let's use the left side so you can see. Slide your left knee towards your shoulder. Toes will turn out, so you're in half frog. And then you could just drop in and rest here. Some of you lifting back up onto your forearms. Again, that creates a little bit more sensations, especially if you press the knee down and press the thigh into the floor. Remember, your toes are turned out. And then we all come back down to the forehead as you straighten out your leg. Little wiggle of the hips. And then we switch sides. Opposite knee starts to bend to opposite shoulder. Turn your toe out. Press down in your thigh. You can remain into the mat or lift up onto those forearms again. And if you're there, you're pressing your thigh into the floor. And then we'll all drop back down to the forehead as we extend that leg back. Big toes touch, heels opening up. Just wiggle out your hips a bit. And then just spine stillness, take rest here. Check in with low back. And then bending your knees, once again, windshield the legs to the left and to the right. And then we'll lower those legs down, hands come back to your chest, push yourself up in plank or kneeling plank, and then down dog or child's pose to counter that stretch. And then we'll all find our way back down to the floor. We're gonna move into full frog pose. Now, if you need to turn onto the long side of your mat so you have a little more padding on your knees, that's a nice option. Otherwise, the floor works great, especially for sliding out. You can start to open the knees up a little bit wider. And then once again, turn your toes out if possible and continue to scoot your knees out and then come on down to your forearms. Try to keep your hips and your knees somewhat in alignment. It's okay, the hips are drawing back just a little bit more. That'll help with the stretch. And then every exhale, allowing a little more depth. We've just been really loving this stretch lately. Such a great one for those inner thighs. Now remember, if you feel pinching in your knees or on the inner side of the knees, just back out of the pose. You can even do this lying down, a little bit more of a child's pose variation. I'm not sorry, child's pose, happy baby variation. Take 5 full breaths. Breathing space in and through. And then you're going to slowly come out of the pose. So path of least resistance. If you need to come up first in the chest, do so. If it's easier to just scooch those knees in while you're lower down, go ahead and do so. And then eventually you do some hip circles. You can lengthen out a little bit more than all fours and then just swirl the pelvis around and around. And then go the opposite direction. And then go ahead and start to find your way back through all fours. We're going to step the right leg forward. And you're going to scooch your knee back a little bit more. Hands on the floor. And then once you have your lunge, pick up that back knee. Left hand stays on the mat, right hand reaching up towards the ceiling for a twist and to counter the outer hip here. One more big breath. Looking down, exhale, hands to the floor, spin your back heel down. You're in heel to heel alignment. We're prepping for warrior two. Next inhale, arms come up. The exhale lets you settle in, Virabhadrasana B. Good, you guys. Yeah, check yourself, check your sternum over the pubic bone, make sure that knee isn't caving in. And then you're gonna play here. So you can do reverse warrior, side angle. So for the most part, the lower body is exactly the same. You can always play and just simply straighten out the leg and back into warrior two. So I'm just naming off some variations, but anything goes here. So we do this a lot to make our practice our own, so we can really check in with our own physical body, mental energy, mental body. Remember, there's no right or wrong here. I always know it's a good practice when a thought comes up like, that's interesting, or that's curious. That's sort of how we know, I think we're really paying attention when we notice those things about ourselves, habit. And then eventually you'll go ahead and slowly find your way back through warrior two. Hands can come to the hips as you turn your footing. So the toes are turning the same direction. You're in heel to heel. Hands to your hips, we take a big breath and then exhale to forward fold. Go and just let your head drop. And we'll walk the hands forward. So this is such a lovely one for low back and for hips. Press into your hands, draw those hips back over the ankles, and then let your head melt more. And you'll walk the hands back underneath the shoulders. Hands can come to the hips. Slowly rise up, nice flat spine. And then you're gonna open up those arms again. We'll adjust the footing, turning to warrior two to the other side. Okay, so we'll do our twist later in the practice. So just stay here in warrior two. Again, nothing you need to see if you've turned away from your screen. Just trust yourself to be, to breathe. And then from here, begin to explore some movements. You have side angle, you have reverse warrior, and you have simply just moving just to move. I love binds with the hands, maybe just a bend in that front knee. And this whole time as you're moving, you're also seeing how you feel in the movement, the posture with the breath. The breath always tells us how we are being in any given moment. And then we eventually find our way rising back up through warrior two, taking an inhale. You're gonna cartwheel those arms down, so you're framing that left foot. Lift up your back heel so you're back in your lunge. So remember, we've been here before. Placing your right hand to the floor, left hand reaching up to the sky. Reaching up towards the highest point in your body. Big inhale. You're going to look down. We'll transition right back into that wide leg stretch posture. Staying low, just adjust your footing. All 10 toes turn again, and we fold. So we've been here before. Just let yourself relax in this time. And then we're going to walk the hands over to the left side, so over towards your left foot. And then just feel a lovely stretch in the side body. We'll come back through the center and then walk the hands over towards the right. And then arriving back through, let's go ahead and start to shimmy the feet in a little bit more. And then you'll turn your heels in, toes will turn out. We're in a squat position. Bring your hands up on top of your thigh, lifting up the chest a bit, just melt the hips down. Take a breath. Dropping your right shoulder down into a spinal twist. Come on back to the center. Inhale. Exhale, left shoulder drops. Guys, you're doing great. Let's take one more round. Breath in and breath out. Inhale and exhale. Okay, so we come back to the center. I want you to just feel the hips softening down even more, the knees spreading apart more. You can come all the way down to your elbows, bringing the arms slightly in front of the knees, or just stay lifted and use the hands. And I want you to start to press into your thighs, into your knees, and then start to squeeze the knees into your hands or into your elbows. Opening up the sacrum. Take another big inhale. Ooh, and then relax on that exhale. Slowly rise up into stand. Feeling those quads shake a little bit. Start to shimmy your feet in or hop the legs in. Little shake out of your legs. So we're going to do one balancing pose before coming down to the floor. We're going to do eagle pose to open up the back body, shoulders, and more internal rotation of the legs. Let's start out with those arms. Open up those arms super wide, big breath. Right arm underneath the left on the exhale, to giving yourself that hug, or again, your bind with the arms. Stay here or start to sink into your hips, bending your knees. Now, I want you to think of chair, but at the same time, you're squeezing the thighs in even more. Shifting your weight into your right foot. Left thigh can go over the right. You're going to squeeze those thighs together. You can lift that left foot up, pointing towards the back of your mat, or start to wrap the toe behind your calf. See if you can sink a little deeper. Okay, so yeah, lowering your center of gravity will help. See if you can press your back up against the wall behind you and sink down. Here we go. You got it. Full breaths in. You guys are looking really strong. One more breath. Awesome. Slowly rise up. Release those legs. Unravel. Feet to the floor. Unravel those arms. Inhale. Sweep the arms up to the ceiling. Exhale to interlace the fingertips behind your back. Reach the knuckles down to the floor. Open up the chest. And then we'll take a forward fold, hinging at the hips. Arms can go overhead or just release to the floor. And then we'll all relax the hands down, let them cascade down the legs. Bend the knees and roll your way up, one vertebrae at a time. Reset, feet back down to the mat, nice and firm, legs active, crown of the head rising up. We'll go to the second side, opening up those arms, big breath. Exhale, left arm goes underneath the right, wrapping and binding or hugging yourself. We sink down into those hips, Really squeezing the inner thighs together as you start to shift your weight into that left foot. As you place the right thigh over the left, drop down even more, pointing your toe towards the back of the mat or wrapping around your calf. Now find that gaze again. Remember, it's a focus in the mind. We're strengthening the mind, not just the body. Hold and breathe, squeezing in. Nice, you guys, really great. Couple more breaths. If you fall out, just come back. It's okay if we fluctuate. Awesome, let's go ahead and slowly rise up. Unravel those legs, unravel the arms. Inhale, we sweep those arms back up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands behind you, interlacing fingertips together, or grabbing hold of your elbows, or even reverse prayer. Here, we'll just take pause and feel the opening in the heart center. You can start to lift the throat, opening up the fifth chakra, the throat chakra. Continue to feel the tailbone drop down. And then we'll inhale. We'll all release those arms on the exhale and just sort of shake out the shoulders again, or bicycle the shoulders out. And go the opposite way. We're going to come back down to the floor. I'll take you through a sun salutation to get there. So we'll find our way back towards the short end of the mat. We find Samastahiti. It's a state of equal stance. Samastahiti. Pressing into your feet. We feel our power. Hands coming to the heart, remembering your intention. And let yourself devote yourself to your intention. On the breath in, we reach those arms up to the sky. Exhale to forward fold all the way down. Flatten out, look forward, inhale. Exhale to fold. Plant the hands on the floor, stepping back to downward facing dog or child's pose. Inhale to shift forward, plank or kneeling plank. Exhale to chaturanga, high to low push-up. Lifting up in your chest, cobra, upward facing dog. We'll all meet in child's pose on the exhale. Letting your knees open up wide, sinking those hips down. And then bring the palms to touch, bend your elbows. And some of you bringing the thumb towards the back of the neck, or taking your hands and just reaching towards your shoulder blades. And so we're feeling the stretch in the triceps, armpits. And full breaths here. Letting yourself feel this sense of devotion to your practice, to this moment, to extreme self-care. And then gently release. Let's go ahead and rise up. Find your seat. We're going to go into a wide leg stretch posture. So once again, we're going to open up the legs into a V shape. Again, not so concerned where you're situated on your mat, just so you're able to be comfortable here. Inhale, we reach those arms up to the ceiling, bending to the right on the exhale. You can pulse a little bit, just rising up and dropping back in. Sometimes that helps with the stretching. And then we all come back up. Inhale, arms reaching up to the ceiling. Exhale, over to the left. So you can slide that left hand to your inner heel. If that helps you open up a bit. You can also pulse a bit in your chest up and down. We call that dynamic stretching. And And then both arms coming back up to the ceiling. Inhale. And then we take our fold. Exhale to reach forward, forward, and down. Slow and deep breaths. Through our practice, we build strength. We also build endurance. Remember, not just in the physical body, but in our mental body. We expand our capacity for existence without the judgment of good, bad, right, wrong. And then slowly coming up. Lean back, go and bend your knees. Feet are a little bit wider than hips, and then do some of those wipers. And then just letting your knees fall either direction. So not concerned which side you start with. And then once again, just pushing that hip forward a bit. So again, it's more of that internal rotation of your thigh. So it's turning in towards the center of your body or midline of your body. You can stay right here. You can also drop back onto your forearms. Again, doesn't matter where you're situated on your mat. See if you can keep drawing the hip forward a little bit more or lifting up, squeezing the glute. And then we'll all lift back up in the chest and up to the hands if you're not already there. We're going to twist towards the knees. You're going to just turn your torso and your hands and walk the hands behind you into a twist. And then come back around and we'll lean back on those hands again, knees lift, and we'll go to the other side, let the knees drop. And then once again, just push into your hands a little bit, squeeze your opposite glute to roll that hip forward and in. Okay, so again, internal rotation of the thigh. And you can lean back on your forearms. You can also just stay lifted. And then we'll all gently lift up if you're not already there. And then here's that twist and rotation over towards that bent knee. So just turning the torso, walking those hands gently behind you. And twisting is so good for your superficial back muscles. And then we'll come back around to the center and then lean back on those hands again, lift your knees, and again, just a few wipers side to side, wiping that slate clean. And then finally, we'll go ahead and bring the knees to touch. You'll sit in hero's pose, which looks something like this, in between if possible. If this is too much on the knees, go ahead and just cross your legs and find a regular seat. So we won't be here too long. We're just going to do a little more stretch here. You can also sit on top of your heels if that's better for you. Okay. So I'm just going to offer really quick, I shouldn't say really quick, but I'm just going to offer a moment here. You can lean back on those hands in any variation you're in. Some of you leaning back all the way to the floor. If you're in this variation where your hips are into the floor. Otherwise, if you're on top of the heels, you can lean back on those hands. You can even lift up in the hips if you'd like. Same with your seated variation. We'll be here for 3. Keep drawing those legs in, 2. And we all lower the hips. If they're lifting, we all rise up. If you're lying down, go ahead and slowly bring yourself up. And then just bring those legs forward. We're going to come into a lying down position. So good time to put layers back on, socks or sweaters. And as you make your way down to the floor, just take a moment to ground back into the mat. Your knees can be drawing into daydreamer's pose with the legs bent. You can also open them up into bound angle. Some of the things I just really love about this practice is we can, really make it unique for ourselves. You can make modifications that suit your body's needs. And then you feel comfortable here, go and just extend the legs out. Let the legs splay open, let the palms open up. Allow the windows of your eyes to close. And in this moment, nothing you want, nothing you need. In this moment, we can just quiet the mind down. Turn up the volume of the breath. As you begin to breathe slower and deeper. As you breathe slow and deep into the heart of your day. Let yourself start with expanding your capacity to live life fully, to not resisting anything throughout your day, letting everything be as is. We drop the agenda for ourselves, the agenda for others, and for the world. And we allow our focus to be on love. We imprint that love with light. And I'll invite you to remain here for as long as you'd like. I will seal our time together, bringing my hands to my heart center as I bow to each and every one of you. I thank you so much for being here with me this morning, for letting me into your home. Remember, even though we are practicing alone, we are doing it together, alone together. I leave you with love and light. I leave you with power and with peace. Namaste.